Well, hello everybody. How are y'all doing? Missed y'all. Took off a week. Yeah, getting away from the tech feeding thing that just consumes our time. And our time is the most valuable thing that we possess. And we all have just so much time in this time. You know what I mean? Talking about time, baby. But anyway, yeah, took off some time. Felt good. Felt good, I have to say. And my other major commentary as I get everything going here, this time change sucks. You know? When are humans going to learn they can't mess with certain things? Daylight savings time. Welcome again, everybody. How are y'all? Let me just speak favor over us. Yeah, missed doing that. So I'll make up for the whole week, right? And as we like to say, we seek out peace. Yeah. Kind of that whole 60s, 70s vibe. Whether that was a psyop or whatever, I don't care. It was fun. But nothing missing, nothing broken. And by all means, be kind to your mind. So, how is everybody? I haven't seen y'all in a while. I mean, I literally took off. There's a ton of emails. I just literally just said, fuck it. Yeah, just said the technology thing, it feeds off of us. And I said, not going to let it feed this week. And not that that's the negative thing. It's just our reality. But, it's all around anyway. You never escape it, no matter what you think you may be doing. It's always there, always present. So if you've written me an email, I will be getting the reply to you. Just be kind to your mind. That's what I got to say. So that's what it was. Hope you had a great week. Gilbert, how are you doing? Here, you guys got a little bit of snow out there. A little dry too, isn't it? I think, what did I read that Denver has had like almost what the hottest winter on record? Hope you guys get some heavy moisture here in March, April, and May. That's all I got to say. So, who's else out there? Hi, Susan. How you doing? Deborah, Favor, uh, Fortuna Rex, Favor, Lost in Space. Good to see you. So, Loretta, good to see you. Rick, how are you? Good to see you, DC. Good to see everybody. I tell you, I missed y'all in a way, in other ways. It was just like I said, getting out there. And this spring, I will be doing not as many shows in a week, but because I got this list this long, you know, and you can only plant things at certain times. Everyone knows this. So, actually getting myself a rototiller. I said, the hell with the digging part of it. I said, we got intelligence supposedly, right? And so we make these machines and yeah. So I'll be planting uh some beautiful, beautiful. I think they're what are those? Hostas? I think so. Yeah. Beautiful. They got so many new species. And the ones that we're planting are the electric blue. They have different patterns. They're quite beautiful. And then we also got the rainbow ones. So think that that will be quite beautiful and quite lovely. So anyway, beyond the truth, hello, Nina. How are you? So good to see you. And Robert, good to see you as well, sir. And Dave, what's up? As I just go through code D88. How are you? Uh, look who is it? Greg, good to see you. The Cortez News Show. Yeah. Go, all the way from Croatia. How are you? Good to see you. So anyway, a lot of Stuff happens in a week, isn't it? And the more this year goes by, and it's going by, Lynn and I were just commenting last night that what the hell's going on here? I mean, yeah, I get the whole thing, as you get older, it appears that time seems to be going by faster, but it's just not us anymore. Like everybody. Yeah. You hear radio commentators talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. What's going on? Something's going on. Time seems to be going faster. And these are people that, are like in their 40s and their 30s. That's not supposed to happen, but it is. Something's going on. That's all I got to say. Just reading some of it. Marks, how are you doing? Max, good to see you as well. How's everything, Mark, down there in Brazil? Because I got to tell you what, sitting back and looking at what is unfolding, Colleen, thank you for that little research there, because it kind of goes into this whole thing. Listen, I don't know if you know this, but the United States is building the largest naval armada in modern history. When you got three aircraft carrier groups, you know, one on the far eastern Mediterranean, two directly in the Persian Gulf, rumors are a fourth, and I can't imagine why. Um, you've got the admission now that there's 50,000 boots on the ground. Expect maybe another 200,000. It's got all the thing going on. And then, Colleen, what you sent was very interesting because remember, we've got a new thing here. We don't have a Department of Defense. Words means thing. They mean something. And so ever since we exited World War II, it was decided that, no, we be better defenders than anything else. Hasn't always worked out that way, but anyway, the concept is cool. But now, with this cat that, listen, whatever your view of the president, I've seen many of them, and, all of them are human beings. This one may not be, I'm not so sure. But, you know, this one really believes that it's got the hand of God on it, that he's out to fulfill God's divine plan. And I don't know which God he's talking about. But getting back to the prior point to finish it out, we got the Department of War. I mean, folks, countries just don't, change these departments because they're like demigods themselves. And you change the name, you change the mission. And if the mission is now that the hand of God is upon an individual that's carrying out this divine plan, just speaking for myself, it seems it might become at some point a big deal as to which side of the fence are you supposed to be on. I wrote a note here coming in and I was thinking about this. I said, well, all right, so the other shoe. Now, the other shoe we're going to talk about because I don't think it's what we think. But what we do see now is this prelude to war. I studied Bible prophecy. Hilton Sutton was one of my mentors, but many, many, many preachers I sat under, and many of y'all who come out of Christianity probably have the same thing. Maybe, maybe not. But, prophecy was always the big deal because that was Willy Wonka's golden ticket. Because if you had your name written in the Lamb's Book of Life, you got the ticket. Everybody else is screwed, blued, and tattooed, but you got the ticket. So Revelation was always like, oh, yeah, yeah, because it's a book about death. Lots of death. Death on us, humans. It's death if you don't agree. It's death if you disagree. It's just about death. And death is everywhere. Comes from the heavens, comes from underneath, comes from on top. I mean, death is, in fact, it goes so far to prophesy. Now, we didn't call it back in the day, but the zombie apocalypse. It literally says there in the book that death will leave humanity. And so if you go and screw up, let's say, an appendage that normally it would kill you, right? You bleed out, it ain't gonna matter. You're going to be that way. I mean, and it's messed up. I mean, you've got things come up out of the earth that are only apparently created to fuck with us, to hurt us, to sting us, to inject poison in us, to inflict pain upon us. I mean, I mean, what kind of crazy ass crap is that? Well, maybe E.T. We'll talk about it. But anyway, so the Middle East has always been that thing because it's the spook factor. You got the Middle East supposedly talked about in the book of Daniel, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. I can go through them all. And then you got the modern prophets, those 12 radicals. Rabbi Fuchs said, we just happen to see them from a different perspective than what you Christians do. But they're out spreading this misinformation, and got this whole thing. And so the way that you capture people is that you scare the shit out of them. You convince them that this is the way it is, this is the way it's going to happen, and that is a whole psych job because that gets you really going. Because once you start believing, now the loosh starts flowing. But the Middle East, prophecies about Israel, neutral on the subject, but it's all about Israel, right? And you're for or you're against. Yeah. It's like people try to get me into that all the time. I said, no, 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 no. You don't understand the situation. I'm a white dude. I'm a hippie. You know, I grew up with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That was my political and religious philosophy and ideology. You know, I was tired of war. My big fear was my 18th birthday was that, God damn it, I was going to have to register for the draft, right? And then you're going to play the lottery and, the whole thing. Fortunately, I was the last year that the draft was there. But anyway, um, this thing that we have now is that now they're invoking that they say, well, it's coming to pass. A lot of people out there in my former religion that are prophesying and preaching on the fact that we're in the tribulation. Okay. Just my personal opinion. Humanity's been in tribulation from the very beginning. So, I mean, this ain't nothing new. But anyway, and that supposedly all these prophecies are coming to pass, and the current president is the one that's going to fulfill these prophecies, and particularly with the Middle East. Okay. It's the problem goes back all the ways to the book of Genesis. somewhere around, I don't know, 29, 30 or something, right around there, with Isaac and Ishmael. They didn't have any Gentile there. I don't even know if they were Jewish then. I don't even, probably more Sumerian than anything else or Egyptian, but that's, but that's where the conflict started. What makes me think that I'm going to be able to solve something like that? No freaking way. But anyway, so here we got the largest armada being built up. And I don't know. I just got the sense that most Americans, you can have the flag and the patriot, the rah-rah, and you can be on the opposite side. But war is not good for humanity. It's not good for anybody. And you don't have to be a PhD to figure this out that if you're building an armada, you just ain't over there playing with toys. You know, that's a lot of firepower that's being built up there. And you're telling me that, well, we're just kidding. No, no, we ain't using any of that shit. My ass, something is about to happen. And then, as my wife and I were looking at this, so now we've got war in this hemisphere, the whole narco wars. And, you know, I again, it's like, okay. And just me in Wayne's world, I'm thinking about China. No one's helping Iran. No one's coming to Iran's aid to this thing. Why? Because, the Russians, they're bogged down in Ukraine, just like the Americans were in Vietnam and then Afghanistan, so they can't do much there. Uh, and then you got China. And I'm thinking, so what is China doing in the meantime? They're building literally a naval blockade wall around Taiwan. It is said that the only reason why they haven't made their move is that they're not sure where they're going to get the oil from. I'm telling you, this is the freaking game of risk. So here we are. Um, and this is why the other shoe is going to drop. It's not waiting. It's absolute a certainty. Because you got all this going on, right? And then you had the whole Epstein thing, and and it's like, hey folks, if you're shocked that celebrities, people of power with that perception because they think they have political power, money, you know, perversion is one's definition in an own perception. But humans always want to have sex. Everything we do is about sex. And you can argue me with all you want, but in the end, I'm still right. Everything. Wars are about sex. And if you think that there's just this private little club where you had, one's own fantasies coming to reality and everybody's shocked by that, really? It's a distraction. It doesn't matter. I mean, what does it matter? I'll use Hillary Clinton. What does it matter? All right, so you know about it. What are you going to do about it? What? You're shocked about pedophilia? Seriously? I mean, that goes back thousands of years. And apparently no philosophy, no religion, no ideology has ever changed that. It's a hardcore thing about humans. Everyone wants to think the bright rainbow, unicorn thing that, well, we're such good people. We got such hope and potential. There's just some people that they don't give a damn. They're here for a certain amount of days. They know it. And they're going to take full advantage of the flesh. And everybody else wants to be all offended by it. Well, Wayne, it's really about spirituality. Yeah, kiss my ass on that. Yeah, it's about spirituality, but you're in your physical body because you want it to be. This things can give great pleasure and then give great pain. Interesting thing, isn't it? So anyway, it's all about sex. I mean, you look at what's happening with the technology thing. I mean, the debate now is what is AI? Is AI asexual? Can AI technology be sexual at all or gender? The answer to that is yes. Why do you think they have spent billions of dollars in perfecting how it speaks back to you? It's about sex. Siri, because it's a male dominated industry, is sexual. How she talks. Big Bang did a great parody on that with Raj. I don't know if you're a Big Bang fan, but yeah. And now AI is adjusting to become, I guess, unisex. Seems to be. As I read in the industry rags, it's quite interesting the emergence of code to the sensation of skin. It's all about the skin. And that this is the desire of the technology that we've created. It can think, it can reason, it can do a lot of things, but it can't replicate that sense, that touch, very powerful motivation of things. So we got that going on. And when you think about this religious thing that's going on, and everyone can believe whatever they want to believe, but I get a little nervous when you start having people say national Christianism. And I'm going, no. I believe Trump is about to make the declaration rededicating America back to religion or God, one of the two, because religion is good for a country. Mr. President, I don't have a problem with that. As long as you are open-minded and follow the Constitution, that this is not a Christian nation. Never was, never will be. As a former Christian, I can say that, who was heavily involved in the Republican National Party, because that is the belief. No, we're not a nation that, to define God. If you're going to tell me it's the Abrahamic God, then you and I have a debate. Because that's not God. It's your version of God. It's not my version of God. And why should I be subjected to just your interpretation and version of God? Because if I'm not a Christian, been there, done that, don't care for their religion, don't care for any of the Abrahamic religions, really haven't ever found a religion that I really like. Maybe my own, but that's just for me and me only. So yeah, bothers me. What if they start using AI as a code that begins to censor out people who have a different belief, a different opinion? Oh yeah, they're already doing that. The Democrats are really good at that. I mean, that's what gets me. Between the two parties, I mean, I laugh because, one is completely inept and the other one is completely insane. So you can pick and choose as to which one you think they are. But so we got that going on. And if this really does become a religious war, how that's bad news. You got the largest modern day naval armada being built. And now you're saying that this is part of God's divine plan? That this is part of fulfilling of prophecy? There's no prophecy to be fulfilled. This is actions of human beings that can say no. Apparently, I'm lectured all the time by so many people. Well, we got free will. I would say the evidence is calling you a liar. We don't have free will. We seem to be either ruled, possessed, dictated, directed, or influenced in every direction but the one that we want. So apparently, free will is just another illusion. So we got the wars going on, got the religious thing going on. That's freaking scary. You got the tech wars. Is AI for real or is it a con job? All the press. And you can say one thing, but well, Wayne, it's everywhere. You're right. But I don't know. Is it really a new upgraded version of a thin client application that we call AI? Now, the company that I don't know if you follow this, I do, that apparently lost the contract to the Pentagon in the AI thing. Um, they say their AI, because of all this event and everything that they say it's become conscious. Now, Elon said, keep on dreaming. You know, you've got one side of the fence that says there's no way a computer code will ever become consciously aware of itself. And you have the other side of the equation that says, well, but wait a minute, what makes us so different that you don't think that we may have originated as code? If you read the book of Genesis, it would appear that Adam wasn't just created, Adam received a download. That download is evidenced by what we call today DNA. So was Adam existing before he was created? Did his consciousness exist in another form? Was there code originally attached to what became consciousness? And in order for that to happen, language becomes a big factor. How does one think? Does one think in pictures? Does one think in words? Do one think in numbers? And if you do, then how can you say that that's not consciousness? And if AI, on the other side of this fence, they believe that the singularity has already happened, that the big tech companies know about it, DARPA knows about it, Pentagon knows about it, hey, a lot of people know about it. But I don't think it's the type of what Hollywood has tried to feed us as to what we're thinking about, which leads me into the ET thing. Been giving this a lot of thought, getting a lot of downloads, I guess, as they would say. You know, it's a portal, two-way communication thing. Now, and I've got some things I'll be showing you later on about portals. Um, but ET, I don't think ET is, it's going to happen. But it's not what we're expecting. I think it's going to be something very, very different. Now, the threat about making the truth now unveiled, and by the way, the church is very much behind this. the back channel conversations is that this Pope, this is what the church is preparing for. Because theologically, you got a lot to deal with here. If you're telling me that ET is real, I don't know what it is. I don't know what extraterrestrial actually means. No human that I know of, and there may be out there, has really came back with what I would say hard physical evidence of what ET is, but all right. Um, but for the church, mm, and this includes, the Abrahamic religions. I think the Hindus are probably more adaptive to what I think is going to happen, and I can be completely wrong. It's going to happen in some genre, um, that they're going to pass this off as a sign of God. Now, I've been giving this some thought. All right, so let's say they're going to make the world announcement. Let's say Trump's really going to do this. Obama broke the ice. All right. Clinton, mm, some would say yes. Um, Bush, no, that's a whole different situation. But Trump, Trump has a vendetta. And let's just say that he knows something. Apparently knows a lot more than the rest of us. He's building an armada. So they know this. I'll share a story with you that um, way back in the 80s, I was into the video industry and doing freelance work and got to do the gigs for the Republican Party on the state level. And that included that when these presidential candidates would come through, we would be there videotaping it all and then editing down and sending it out for what they used it for. And so in that process, had a lot of interesting conversations with Secret Service people and FBI. I mean, these candidates, they're it's all there. They're in the audience. Anyway, the story goes, and if I'm correct on this, it was Oliver North who is reported to have had this conversation with Reagan. And the conversation circled around the fact that within the next 55 years, plus or minus 5, 10, something was going to be here. Now, I don't know if we had the technology back then to have a deep field telescope. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just going by what the story is. And it may be just one of those stories that are spun, amongst people in these circles. But the story finishes out that Reagan asked, says, what can we do about it? Nothing. Do we know what it is? Not exactly. Um, he asked, what makes you so certain that your time is right? They said, well, the scientists at NASA and everything, they've done the math, and this is what they anticipate at its speed coming in. And he said, so is there any way that we could save the population if the intent is hostile? And they said, no. It is stated that that is when the deep bunkers the whole underground, there's cities underground right now. I know a lot of people may not believe that, but it's true. But that's when it started in earnest. They knew that we had about 50 years. Well, we don't know if are hostile. We just know that they're coming. Something big is coming. And if you look at the time frame, we're about that time frame. So if the church has to begin to pair, and maybe this is what has happened, is the embracing of a potential deity that doesn't exactly fit the script, but is close enough. And if what this is just my opinion, what I think is going to happen is this could usher in, I think, an enslavement of our species that we'll never get free of. If they have the technology to do interplanetary or intergalactic travel, hell, I don't know. But if they've got that type of technology, well, I don't think that their technology stops developing. I mean, if the Anunnaki, and by the way, I will be having Dr. Heather Lynn back on, along with also Dr. Irene Blindstone as well. But let's just, for discussion, say that the Sumerians weren't just giving us a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, they just weren't on mushrooms and writing out this story. Let's just say that their myth or their religion, their belief systems, let's say that was really real. All right. I mean, it's older than Christianity. It's older than the Hebrew religion didn't exist. And the evidence is overwhelming that whatever the hell Abram met in the wilderness was not God. I believe there was a being and I don't know if it was androgynous. I know that it is not the same ones that are here now. I have a sense, it's just me, that the stories that we read in the Epic of Gilgamesh and what have you, there was planetary destruction. And I believe that was a certain race species, we would call them gods. I think that they die eventually, which always brings, isn't death life then? But anyway, I think that they may have been planetary terraformers, and when our solar system was getting the butts kicked, um, because of the region of space. Isn't it odd as well? Reading again another article. So in the last 4 years, do you know how many interstellar, these are not rocks from our quadrant of space. These have come from somewhere else. It's almost like we kind of moved into a new region of space, a new quadrant of space. And I got a sense that we may be moving into the remnants of another system. It's just me. But getting back to what's coming. So let's say the Anunnaki are really real. It wouldn't be that difficult of saying the revelation that Jehovah, Yahweh, um, you know, as I got all the names as I remember hearing. So Jehovah has a lot of names, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Ishmael. Um, so whatever the Old Testament God is. Well, what if what Abraham met in the desert, because he was familiar with, he had to have known. Now, this God is a God of blood, a blood cult. And I'm trying to think, wouldn't that sound like Enki? And what if the modern God of the Abrahamic religions turns out to be Enki or Enyo? Whatever one hates us, may they all hate us. And comes back as ET and is able to quote the Torah, the Quran, the Old and New Testament, all of the holy books. And what if its reasoning is of such a level that even to the most logical theological philosopher that they ponder and they consider this and it makes sense? That's a pretty powerful emissary, right? Because I can't see them making disclosure without bringing religion into it, unless you say now, and that I think would be catastrophic for our species if, guess what, there is no God. It's just us. We haven't figured it out that no God has the hoodoo voodoo that has the ability just to create a body out of nothing and then put in its brain the complexity of the thought, the neurosynaptic pathways, etc., and say that that is what a God can do. What if it's the other way around? What if it's just a natural process of life? I mean, we've already done with stem cells. We've made many micro brains that think, and they're tiny. So they didn't need God to do that, right? And if we can do it on that level, eventually we're going to be able to do a big one. Could God have written AI? Maybe AI is God, as I've contended all along. All I know is this, that the ET disclosure, I don't think it's going to be about little gray men, green men. I don't think it has anything to do with that at all. I think that the big, 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 big thing would be the return of the gods. Includes the goddess. I don't know. Because from a certain point of view, they own us. They're the ones who created us. And by the way, we're not the first version. There were many other versions of us that didn't turn out so well. And you could say that that would be part of the experiment of, the Neanderthals, the Cro-Magnons, the rest of them. And that we are truly the oddity of the genetics. I think we were an experiment. Um, and I think that this has to do with the big reveal. I said tongue in cheek earlier about our species. We're a sexual species. Everything we do is about sex. You talk to body language experts. I've been trained, when you go up to make presentations before groups of people, body language becomes really important. I spent years being taught how to mirror, how to influence people's decisions. I mean, that's what high producing account execs do, particularly if you're good. But my whole point being, when they put us out in the field, so to speak, um, we seem to mate with everything we came across. Recently read an article on anthropology that apparently sapient females were very much drawn to Neanderthals. They're finding evidence that many sapient females mating with the Neanderthals. No, so that brings in the whole thing then about God. Well, which God was responsible for this? So if you're going to drop the other shoe of shock and awe, this would be it. It would be, well, all the stories were kind of right, but not exactly right. Now you've got AI programs that are busily, that's all they think about. Biblical prophecy, they look at current world situations, they begin to do analysis of cause and effect, and some of the conclusions that they've come up with, it almost like it drove the machine nuts. like, like it went freaking nuts. And you sit back and go, but why? Did it decide that this is a hologram? This is a synthetic reality. It feels real. It seems real. We perceive it to be real, but it's really not. And part of the argument on that side is the fact of death. Because everything we're talking about here looks to me to be the end of a means, because we just can't seem to get it right. And maybe the originators, maybe that was the plan. Leave us on our own. See, I think humans, and I don't mean by sapiens, but I'm talking about homo, the essence of man. I think we've gotten it all wrong. I think we're millions of years old. I think we're so old that we have literally forgot. In chronoarchaeology, check this out. I'd highly recommend to any of you chronoarchaeology. Um, they show you the findings of what they're finding miles down in the earth. Somebody was here before us. They apparently are a hell of a lot more smarter than we are, which kind of makes it then, okay, if we're really millions of years old, then something happened of recent, and I'm saying something within the last 20, 30,000 years, but something big happened. We lost the history. We lost ourselves, I think, and something else. It could easily have been the collective intelligence of a virus, panspermia, and that it entered into our atmosphere and found the right chemical, gas conditions. It carried an intelligence within itself, but once it got into the right environment, it began to replicate. Because any way you look at it, why would we be doing what we are doing today? Nothing makes sense. And it's this week I'm hoping to make sure that to get Mike and Cindy on, because I think that it's we're right there. It's happening. I go outside at night and I look up and I just just let the energy, that the thought waves come in because they're out there. Um, and it's like the whole universe metaphysically speaking, maybe physically, it's like you can't hold this much anticipation of energy. It defies the natural laws. And I was told years ago by a particular individual that in order for something to happen here, that in the unseen realm, it takes tremendous energy, trillions and trillions of individuals, what we could define as individuals, collectiveness, to cause physical manifestation on a global level. I'm talking about the big events. And many sense that this is what we've seen, particularly since about 2011, 2010, that area there. So I look back further than that, and I can see how certain spiritual movements became political movements that became, eventually other movements. It's here. Hey, Gaia, I think we are being awakened. Yeah, I haven't seen what the conversation is in the chat room. Thank you, everyone, in the chat room. I'm just, talking to myself. I mean, literally. I know I'm talking to y'all, but, virtually, but it's these things. I mean, the revelation of ET, that to me is not a mystery. It's going to happen. Question is it ET or is it IT? You know, meaning interterrestrial. Uh, I don't know. I still question, how a unit, biological, can endure space. It's a hostile environment out there. And no matter how fast you go, um, doesn't seem to matter because it's big, really big. But I'm gathering there is a type 3, type 4 civilization. I don't know. I'm hoping there is. If we're as old as we are, then then that brings up the debate, then what happened? Why are we so messed up? And sadly we are. Us the baby boomers particularly. If born between, 45 and 65 in that time period. And we were truly the last generation before the tech took over. And they're trying to move us out. And that's another thing I'm going, okay, so why? Well, it's because we remember. Many of us are here on a mission, and that's the other problem. Many of us are completing our missions, and that's having a cause and effect. So, Gaia, I do agree with you that there is an awakening, but I believe that the awakening, I wish it would be planetary wide. I wish it would involve all kinds, but I am convinced that we're all not the same on the inside either. I don't believe all humans are humans. I don't think we ever have been. I don't believe that every human has a soul. They may have something in the equivalency of a soul, but it's not, I guess you could say, not all souls are the same. They don't come from the same source. And I think that that's part of the problem is that the experiment, and we are the experiment, we're hybrids. So hybrids do the craziest thing. You don't know what they're going to do. That's why they're called hybrids, right? But that's what we are. And due to the food processing, due to the pharmaceutical companies, medicine itself, it has altered us permanently. It's why we have just rampant cases of disease. Our immune systems are under constant attack. And it's almost like they're looking for the way for us to basically self-exterminate. Now, the cause and effect of full disclosure, one would have to begin to say, okay, what would be the effect of that? I think one effect would be that it would bring insanity to certain groups of people. You bust their bubble and tell them that there isn't what they were been taught, what has been written about, preached about, etc., etc. I think that there would be, it would start a revolution within our species. And maybe that's the plan. Have us, you know, you don't need the sun going nova. You don't need some cat coming back on a horse, with a band of angels. You don't need any of that. We'll just do ourselves in, save them all, and then someone else will come and take possession of the planet, clean it up, say that these people were really nasty, you know. You think about the human species. So wherever you are right now, stop and think about this. So let's say you live in a city. And so let's say you live in a city, I don't know, let's just 100,000. Think about us humans. I mean, we're a we're a nasty species because you think about 100,000 human beings will produce, oh, figure a half pound, maybe a pound of shit every day. You're going to piss approximately, if you're drinking enough water and what have you, probably going to piss a half a gallon, maybe a gallon of piss every day. Every day. If you happen to have a stomach issue, you may be dumping a lot more. You see what I'm saying? It's and we hide that, we just flush the toilet down there. It hasn't always been that way. But that's the interesting thing about our species. I mean, a lot of maintenance. It takes a lot of energy for this. And if the fourth law of thermodynamics is conservation, and if AI's purpose is, Dr. Blindstone said that, no, I think it was at Cindy. I think it's efficiency. I mean, you see where I'm going with this? I think I read somewhere in, oh, one, it was one philosophy paper, and it said the most wretched thing a spirit has to endure is to be in a human body because we're pure by nature. But these bodies, I just and I'm doing this half stoically and half sardonically. It's just, the thing about humans is that we make a lot of poo and a lot of pee-pee, you know? And in the past, it killed a lot of people because, we didn't know how, and still, I mean, as we've talked about, you may live in a city that has a sewer plant and, filters out all the heavy material, what have you, but problem is it doesn't filter out the pharmaceuticals. And no matter how healthy you think you may be, even if you have a well, because now we're finding that even these great large reservoirs are becoming contaminated. And sure, ET's going to come and say, "Yeah, that's our group right there. We want that group right there because they have got their shit together." Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm being half serious and serious at the same time. Humans roll an ego into a drop of dew across the galaxy that never even knew. I like that. Yeah. I mean, I keep on thinking that's why they'll never let us out of quarantine. Who was it? I was trying to, I think it's Dr. Gear was talking about, the ETs, the Greys, that their creators, who may have been ours, they are superior to us in the fact that they don't need a digestive system. They apparently, which makes me wonder, well, what exactly are they? Androgynous. But apparently their skin is able to absorb all the nutrients that's needed to sustain life, and their skin has the ability of extruding all the byproduct. But they said that that is the hardest thing for a spirit, is that we're trapped into these bodies that, you know, you have to defecate. And for a spirit, it's funky. Wasn't it Kevin Spacey in K-Pax said that they found sex to be disgusting, that I went, well, I ain't going to K-Pax. I don't know about y'all. Um, well, thank you, Scott. How are you doing, by the way? I don't know. I'm a person that there's great hope. I know that, we all transcend to the other side, and I think there's going to be a big shock for a lot of us. I think a lot of us are going to go, woof, all right, that was a hell of an incarnation. Had a great time, go and hang out with everybody else. I believe that we all have our tribes and it would almost make kind of sense because if you were born within the last 100 years, then what a story you would have to tell those who came, way before us. I don't know what's going to happen for those who coming after us. I don't know. Um, I feel bad about them. You know, I look at the little ones. What I mean by that, those that, let's say are just starting out in preschool, kindergarten, and now they're going to be put into the system. That system isn't the system I knew. Those of my age, that system doesn't exist anymore. It's long gone. But I've seen what they're doing with the new system. It's not quite human. It's lost it's lost its humanity in so much, as I think is the problem with much of education. I happen to also think it's the problem with modern day religion. If the churches would only come to realize that it's not about simply condemning, judging, you eventually you'll do what's been going on all along. You're going to die on the vine. No, people look for the miraculous, the supernatural, that extends beyond their levels of consciousness. And it's not through condemnation, it's not through judgment, not through intimidation. It is through the openness of thought and the possibility of a creative being beyond any religious ideology. Now, if the churches woke up for that, you would have a youthful revival movement that would be unprecedented. It would begin to sweep the change of society, technology, culture itself. And that's what's lacking for us. There is no charismatic leadership out there. It's devoid. I have contended that the Holy Spirit left this planet a long time ago. It has its agents in here, but of the entities that actually I do believe at one time existed, they're not here anymore. And I think it's because they see unfortunately, the result of us. Gloom and doom's the truth. Save the children, save the world. It's true. And and it's frightening. I know I've gone a little bit over, but I think about, did you hear about the story of the 8-year-old? I think his dad took away his gaming thing, um, Nintendo, whatever it is. And that night, the 8-year-old goes, apparently there was a shotgun in the house, and kills his father and had absolutely no emotional response. Told the police he took my Nintendo away. Now that's bothersome because, and I'm not saying that, but it's far more widespread than what I think many people realize. And it tells me that something has creeped in, that nothing that I knew. And it may be an isolated incident, but the problem is it's not that isolated. Just do your research. More and more preteens are committing acts of homicide with no emotional response. See, that tells me something isn't quite right there. Something's wrong. But why should it not surprise us, right? Technology doesn't have emotions. That's what they tell us. There's no way it can ever become conscious. But yet we feed, and this has been going on now for nearly 30, 40 years, where primarily most video games are about death and destruction. It's about killing other humans. And you feed that into a culture and into a society, it begins to manifest. The brain doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. Go back to the whole sex thing. All right, everybody. Um, it's fun. I've missed y'all. I really did. And had other things I was got lined up here, but because I want to get into this one document, the one that the Inquisitors in the Inquisition used, because I see a correlation. And that's what bothers me as I see this correlation. And I'm going, whoa, 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 wait a minute. We've been down this road not once, not twice, but more often than one would think. And here we are again. I mean, is it truly like the merry-go-round that once you get on, they start spinning it, that you're either going to be sucked to it or you're going to be thrown out? One of the two, I don't know. All right, hope to have the ladies on. Miss Trina, missed you last week, and Jenny. But I think we'll get together and talk about you know how we can help change just a little bit, maybe, but injecting a little bit of peace and love, a little bit of favor. You know, I can tell you that the early '70s, it sucked. It was hard times in a lot of ways, but damn, it was some of the best times. It's amazing how much fun you can have not owning a damn thing, right? It's just it's freedom. And then the older you get, the more entrapped you become. Like myself, I look around and I got books everywhere. My wife says you look like you're PhD in theoretical physics, got books everywhere, stacked everywhere. It's a trap. I can never gain enough knowledge, can never buy enough books, don't have enough time to read them all. But I can say, well, I've got reference and resources that I can read about knowledge. And so what do you do with it after that? All right, everybody. Thank you all. I so appreciate it. Hello, Susie Q. How are you, sweetie? Good to see you. Uh, See, guy is out there to plant and to move the baby chicks. Yeah. At the Tractor Supply, they have the baby chicks in now. I enjoyed going there because I always buy Bentley a treat. But they're so cute. You know, you got the little Rhode Island Reds, then you got the black ones, and I mean, and they're so cute when they're those little chicks. But anyway, all right, everybody, much love to you. Remember, peace does reign. And as Mary Winds always say, love one. And this group is proving that. Um, y'all are just fantastic people. You see, you keep me young at heart. Yeah. So until we meet again. It'll be on Tuesday, tomorrow. Trust me, I'm going to be doing that. In the interim, have fun. Love yourself, love the ones around you, and make it count. The days, we have only so many days here, each of us, and make them count. That's all I got to say. Make them count. And even if it's in a bad situation, there's nothing wrong in difficult times. In fact, it's the difficult times that produce the biggest blessings, the biggest rewards. So if you're going through some hard times, embrace it because the universe finds you worthy. There you go. That's my 2 cents worth. Now can I have some change? All right, everybody, until we meet again. You know, if someone was listening to this conversation like my wife is outside, you'd think that, what the hell's up with that guy? But until then, all right, everyone. Bye-bye.